Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good number of times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the years, lots of different styles, and I think it's fair to describe this brewery as one of the most established ones here in Sweden now. They were certainly one of the first breweries that I discovered when I moved over here back in 2015. So yeah, always nice to review their new beers, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So for this review we are going to head north once again to Dalarna County, Dalarna län, and a little place called Hedemora to be specific. So we're having a look at yet another beer from Oppigårds Bryggeri. This particular beer is called Fragg. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and this one is a New England IPA. This beer was released as part of the Tillfälligt temporary assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden on the 20th of April 2021, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, fingers crossed it's another good beer. I always enjoy these little canned IPAs that Oppigårds do, and I do have another beer in the fridge to review from them, and potentially one more than that. I can't remember 100%, but yeah, I do have another sour beer actually, a sour beer to have a look at from them, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, certainly looking forward to trying this one, and as I said earlier, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So yeah, let's see how we get on then. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Oppigårds Bryggeri before, and you will no doubt see more added to that list in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. Always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my notes then to tell you a little bit about Oppigårds Bryggeri once again. So, as I mentioned to you already, Oppigårds Bryggeri are based in Hedemora, which is to the northwest of Stockholm in Dalarna County, quite close to Borlänge and Falun as well. Falun, of course, home to Sabaton, one of my favourite things about Sweden, and the company was founded back in 2003. So the brewery sits on the 250-year-old Falkström family farm in a small, the original one was in a small wooden building which was apparently constructed back in 1896. But this space was originally used for flax dressing, but also for the great-grandfather's metal smithing business as well. But all of the beers were originally brewed in this old building, but they also added a new malt house, and now they have a very new and kind of shiny brewery as well actually, which I would love to go up and see. But the brewery itself, as I say, was founded back in 2003 by Björn Falkström, who wanted to revive the family farm, and he also wanted to revive the old traditional Swedish farmhouse ales. And these beers were actually the norm in Sweden until you had the kind of generic lager breweries taking over in the 1800s. And these beers actually made the farmhouse beers largely unprofitable, so many farms just kind of stopped brewing, if you like. But this brewery became very popular, and it's allowed the Falkström family to continue making their living on the farm as they've done since the 1700s. And in the first year they produced only 8,000 litres of beer and just sold it very locally, but they've produced well over 1 million litres of beer for the last few years now, and they've got a new Italian brew kit in there, and I believe the total production capacity, or the maximum production capacity of this new brewery they have, is about 2.5 million litres, which is very impressive. They did have quite a bit of trouble getting that Italian brew kit to get up and running. They had engineers over from Italy for quite a while trying to get it working, but now they seem to have got it into a rhythm and things are going very smoothly for them. But like I say, a very well established craft brewery these days. They've produced a lot of different beers. As of April 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 110 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Oppigårds Bryggeri for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, I think maybe next time I will try and refresh the Oppigårds notes a little bit, because I've been using the same ones for quite a wee while and just updating them, so I might restructure them and things like that and see if there's anything else interesting to say about the brewery. But yeah, we'll see about that for next time. But anyway, let's crack on and have a taste of this beer then. So as you can see, it's a little 330ml can. The artwork on this one is very similar to what you'll get with a number of Oppigårds beers. You get this classic roundel thing, and that's been the symbol of the brewery that's been their style of art for quite a wee while. They've changed the text font and things like this over the years to make it a little bit more kind of modern and things, but yeah, they've always used a sort of roundel like this. But like I said to you earlier, this beer is a 6.5% IPA. It's hopped with Nelson Sauvin, Citra and Mosaic, and it's got a malt base of Pilsner, torrefied oats and torrefied wheat. So yeah, this should be quite an interesting one. I think I paid about 35 Swedish kroners for this, so that's about €3.50, about £3 sterling, just a little bit over £3 sterling, and then maybe about $4 American, just for those of you watching in different places. But yeah, Citra, Mosaic and Nelson Sauvin, I think that's a very nice mix, actually, quite a classic mix. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see what it has in store for us. My first IPA from these guys in quite a wee while. My first New England IPA, I should say, because we had the Jack Pale Ale recently, and that was very nice, actually. I enjoyed that beer. But look how hazy this thing is. That is impressive. There we go. So, very nice, very nice. I'm glad they made it a kind of paper thing on this, because these shiny ones, they always annoy the camera. The camera hates the shiny things. There we go, lined up again. And you can smell those classic hops out of this beer. But yeah, as you can see and as you would expect from a New England IPA, this one has poured a lovely, very bright hazy yellow. If we're comparing this one in terms of colour, I always like comparing the New England IPAs to fruit juices. This one would be a lovely bright mango juice. But you can see there's about a finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. That's going to fade away quite gradually though. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But that head, you can see it is starting just to recede a little bit. But lovely cream coloured head on this one. A lovely, very bright, rich yellow kind of mango juice colour to the beer. The level of haze on this one as well for a 6.5%er is pretty damn impressive, I have to say. So remember, when it comes to the level of haze that you have in New England IPAs, it's determined by the oats and the wheat content. It's theoretically speaking, as you go up the alcohol scale, you should get hazier and hazier, but it's really more to do with the ratio, and I guess the yeast also plays a role in there as well. The colour of your beer usually is down to the type of malts that you use, you know, and it's also to do with the wort boil as well, how long you boil the wort. A New England IPA like this is going to undergo a boil of like 70 to 90 minutes, something like that. The more you boil the wort though, the longer you boil the wort I should say, the more the sugars caramelise and thus you get a darker beer. But it is dependent in the first instance on the how do you say, the type of malts that you use. But this one, yeah, Pilsner, wheat and oats in it, so it's quite a straight shooting, quite a straightforward malt base, this one. But yeah, in terms of a New England IPA, nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. As I say though, surprised, well, not surprised, impressed at the level of haze that we get out of this one. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma of this one then and just see how we get on. Very, very curious to see what the aroma of this beer is like. It does smell pretty nice actually. But yeah, very straight shooting, nothing surprising about it, but it is really well executed, and these days you can't ask for much more from these New England IPAs. There's so many of them out there on the market now. But yeah, malty wise then, straight away with this one you get a nice kind of smooth white bready malt base in there. You can definitely smell a little bit of the kind of powdery oaty quality sitting on top of that. The oats actually make the beer smell very, very thick, come to think of it. So yeah. Yeah, so lovely kind of smooth white bready base. Good bit of oaty. The oats really give you a kind of thickness, and I wouldn't say creaminess. They actually come across as being sort of powdery in a sense, and you can smell that in the aroma with this beer. But the oats really give you a good bit of thickness out of this beer. But you get some lovely things out of the Pilsner malt in this one, I have to say. You can smell that real crispness from the Pilsner malt at the back of the nose, but the wheat's also giving you a little bit of bitiness at the back of the nose too. So yeah, definitely a bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing out of this one from the Pilsner malts. Yeah, so a wee bit of that kind of concentrated sweet caramelly biscuit sort of thing, then a bit more of a kind of grainy McVitie's digestive biscuit. So yeah, I really like how all of that goes about its business. Yeah, it's so the malt base is really straight shooting, nice bit of bitey wheatiness, a bit of white bread sitting underneath, a nice sort of thicker oaty component to it. You can smell it's a little bit powdery. Then, you know, McVitie's digestive biscuits, and you know, a little bit of a sweeter biscuity element right in the middle. So yeah, quite a straight shooting malt base, this one, but that never did anyone any harm at all. But yeah, can certainly appreciate that malty side of things. I always think the malt base is always a little bit undervalued, I think, in IPAs, to be honest with you, because a good malt base can give a beer so much more depth than it would otherwise have. So yeah, I do like how that goes together in this one. But yeah, it's interesting for sure. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, there's some nice stuff going on here too. So at the back of the nose, you do get a little touch of earthiness out of this one, and I think that'll be the mosaic, but that's quite minimal, I would say. There's a huge, big floral aromatic green component to this one. I mean, Nelson Sauvin is like 16% alpha acid, Citra and Mosaic are like 14% alpha acid each, so that is not surprising at all. In a New England IPA though, it will be mainly late edition hops. Remember, early edition hops are the ones that give you bitterness, whereas as you go progressively across the wort boil, you're going to get more and more, how do you say, you're going to have more and more, you're getting a trade-off between bitterness in favour of flavour and aroma, basically. Those are the words I was looking for, brain not working. But yeah, you get a lovely big massive green component of this one. It's got a little touch of spice to it, but I wouldn't say it's overly spicy. It's got a lovely kind of deep floral aromatic note to it. But yeah, the green component of this is just really nice. It just adds a bit of contrast, and it sort of builds a good bridge as well with the kind of wheaty bitiness that the beer has. But on the front of the nose, there's a good zesty grassiness coming out of the beer as well, which I can really appreciate. So yeah, the green component of this one is very, very nice. On the fruity side of things, I think it's quite interesting too. So the fruits come across as a mix of oily and juicy in the aroma. But you know, if you're familiar with these hops, you'll know exactly what you're going to get. But yeah, you do get a wee tiny touch of a passion fruity note out of this one, which is going to be the Citra, definitely. But yeah, there's a lovely big juicy mango to it. You're really getting the softer side of Citra in this beer, I would say. So yeah, a little touch of that strong passion fruit that it can give you, but then a big juicy mango. You're also getting the kind of white green grapey sort of gooseberry notes from the Nelson Sauvin as well. That's in here. And comes out really nicely, and underneath that you get the big kind of juicy tangerine elements from the Mosaic as well. I get a little touch of pineapple out of this one too, which is quite interesting. You can definitely pick up one or two of the kind of more zesty elements and things from the citrus. Well, maybe even a wee touch of lychee or something like that. I would say as well. You know, Citra can sometimes give you a little bit of lychee. I think Citra probably is, as far as I can see, maybe Idaho 7 would maybe give it a run for its money, but for me, Citra and Idaho 7 are probably the two most complex hops that you can have, and that's why they make great single hop IPAs with those. Some of the other ones are very capable as well, right enough, but in terms of complexity, I think Citra and Idaho 7 are hard to beat, and you see that with these hops. Mosaic and Nelson Sauvin, both lovely hops, but you know, quite straight shooting in a lot of ways in my mind. But yeah, this is a lovely smell in IPA, this one. There's something just familiar about this, so yeah, I think you'll enjoy the aroma of this one. Definitely take a bit of time to ponder that over before you taste the beer. But I think we can have a taste of this one now and see how we get on, so let's go for it. This one is the Fragg, an IPA at 6.5% ABV from Oppigårds Bryggeri in Hedemora in Dalarna County, a little bit further north of me here in Sweden. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah, that is very nice again. It was a really solid take on the New England IPA, and again, you can't ask for much more than that these days, definitely not. So, yeah, this one, it's really interesting. I think on first impressions, it does lean towards the oaty end of the spectrum, which is quite interesting for sure. Yeah, I get more and more oats out of this one. The malt base is actually quite thick and oaty, which you didn't really. You could, you know, it's a bit. you got an impression of that in the aroma, but maybe not quite as much as you would have thought. So yeah, this is really interesting in that sense too. Yeah, I like this one. It does actually feel a lot thicker than you're expecting it to be, in a sense, and it's just the way the oats kind of play out in the beer. But this is really damn solid. I mean, again, Oppigårds, I've pulled off a really nice beer here. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more kind of old school in a sense. A lot of the New England IPAs these days are a bit sweeter in the malt base, whereas this one goes back to that old kind of, that sort of more old school bready kind of thing that you had with the likes of the Narangi and the Amazing Haze. I guess the New Sweden IPA that these guys do to an extent as well, that's probably their kind of cult classic beer. If you like that one, you know, New Sweden IPA, the Turbo IPA and the Turbo Stout. Those are the three beers that I would always remember from Oppigårds. But yeah, I like this one. I do like this one. So thumbs up Oppigårds for this. Another solid offering, absolutely. So yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one for you and describe it properly. So yeah, straight away across the middle of your palate you can feel that nice, smooth, white bready backbone. Absolutely. And then on top of that you can feel there's a big layer, you know, it's like straight down the middle line of your tongue and it spreads out quite a bit. You've got that lovely big kind of oaty character in there. Now the oats in this beer, I find them quite dry, but they do have a little bit of that kind of powdery and creamy element to them, so maybe that's why they come across as a little bit drier. But in the very centre of your palate you've got a nice, how would you say, you've got a kind of, you do have a wee touch of sweetness in there, and you can feel from the middle, from the very dead centre of your palate towards the back, that's where you're getting some of the Pilsner malty elements. And as I've said before, Pilsner malt is a bit of a pain in the arse to describe for you in terms of flavour, because it's more a sort of feel that you can get from it. It just gives you a real sort of crispness, which I really like. But yeah, it's how do you say, it's it really does kind of, this beer just gets thicker and thicker the more that you drink of it, which is quite interesting, absolutely. But yeah, on the back half of that middle third of your tongue, that's when the Pilsner malt really comes out. But yeah, otherwise it's quite straight shooting. So white bready underlying to it, some nice kind of thicker oaty characters there. Then on the back half of that middle third of your palate, you have a more kind of crisp Pilsner malt coming out of it, which is great. So I really like that. Absolutely. But yeah, that covers the middle third of the palate a fair wee bit. In the centre of the palate, as I say, there is a wee touch of a kind of biscuity sweetness, but then as you move further out, it does become a little bit more kind of a sort of grainy biscuit, if that makes sense. But yeah, the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you can feel the sort of doughiness kind of building up a little bit, and as you go into the back third of your palate, it's definitely more kind of wheaty and bitey in a sense. And then on top of that, you've got a doughy yeasty element to it as well. So yeah, sitting on top of that, you can feel the backbone of the that back third of your palate. You can feel the wheatiness there, and then the bitiness underneath. Then on top of it, you can feel the flavour just gets a little bit taller, and that's where you get these kind of airy, yeasty type flavours out of the beer. So if you start at the back of your palate and come forward, you can feel it gradually condenses down, if you like, and then in the border region, it goes down like this. In the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, it goes down like this. Then the middle third of your palate is a bit more kind of condensed and squashed together. So yeah, I can certainly appreciate that about this beer for sure. But yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of things, then I think we've covered the malty side of the beer quite well. It is kind of what you'd expect. Back corners of the palate, there's definitely a little touch of earthiness in there. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another bittering hop in this one, in addition to the two or the three, sorry, aroma hops. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a wee touch of like Columbus or something in this one. There's just something telling me there might be a wee bit of Columbus in here, or maybe a bit of Chinook, something like that. But yeah, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward along the side of the palate, it gradually gets bigger and greener and more kind of spicy and floral. And then yeah, round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit lighter and more grassy in a sense, and a wee touch zesty as well, which I really like. So yeah, big green component there, but that's not a surprise when you consider what hops are in this beer. Yeah, interesting in that regard, absolutely. Yeah. It's this beer, as I say, I'm still surprised at how much the oats really come onto their own kind of later on. I do wonder if that's maybe the reason why this one's so hazy. It maybe is quite an oat forward New England IPA in a sense. So that would explain the level of haze in this one, because I think oats do contribute a bit more to haze than wheat does. But you know, depends. If you think about Hefeweizen, maybe that statement wouldn't stand up very well. Anyway, but yeah, that covers the green component of the beer quite nicely. On that border region between front third and middle third of your palate, again you get a little bit of a bready build-up and a wee bit of a kind of bread crusty element. Then the base of that front third of your palate is the smooth oatiness again. On top of that you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. But yeah, I certainly like that. Yeah. But yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, you have a very nice, how would you say, you know, when it comes to the fruity esters in this beer, it is kind of what you would expect if you know these hops. So at the back of that front third of your palate, you've definitely got a little bit of a passion fruity note in there, but then yeah, you really are seeing the softer side of Citra in this one. A juicy mango, a little bit of an apricot in there as well, and that's the back half of the front third of your palate. When you move into that more oily front half of the front third of your palate, then you get you get a juicy tangerine element in there as well from the mosaic, but then underneath you're getting the more gooseberry like Nelson Sauvin element, the sort of white green grapey gooseberry sort of thing. And yeah, those are quite interesting. The oatiness I think really does come out of this one. Underneath the fruits as well, which is quite interesting, and I think in a way that maybe takes away a little bit of flavour from the Nelson Sauvin, and it kind of in a way makes the beer lean a little bit more as well towards the Citra, which is kind of interesting too. But yeah, you're getting a bit of all three of the hops out of this one, and you can feel in the kind of just before the front tip of the tongue there's a wee bit of a, pardon me, a sort of lemony citrusy kind of thing, which I can really appreciate. So yeah, I like how this goes together, absolutely. I really like how all of this, how it all goes together in this beer, so it gets a big thumbs up from me in that sense. So yeah, the fruity side of this beer works out really well as well. So yeah, overall this is a very, very nice beer. Quite the more I drink of it, the more the oats kind of, it seems that the oats kind of thicken up a bit more, as I can say. So it's a very oaty leaning IPA, this one, but I certainly like it, and it's another very, very solid offering from Oppigårds. And these days there's so many New England IPAs out there, you can't really ask for much more than that. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, it's pushing towards the top end of mid-body. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It has quite a big, thick mouthfeel to it, like I said, mainly because of the oats. In terms of hoppy bitterness and things, I think this is about a 30 IBU beer. There's some really nice big, as I say, a big floral kind of green component to this one. The malt base is fairly thick. There's not too much in the way of sweetness to it. There's a little bit of crispness in there. Then you've also got some nice juicy and slightly oily fruity characters to the beer as well. But overall, this is a very, very nice New England IPA. I've certainly enjoyed reviewing this one for you, and as always I'll keep an eye out for any more that come out from Oppigårds. I think this is the first one they've released this year, but I'm sure it won't be the last. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this review then. This one was the Fragg, a New England IPA, 6.5% ABV, very oaty leaning, but very nicely executed, and that's what we've come to expect from Oppigårds Bryggeri. So yeah, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Oppigårds and all of that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm sure I'll catch you guys in another review sometime soon. Check out my social media, check out their social media, and I will see you guys soon. The Fragg IPA from Oppigårds Bryggeri in Hedemora, Dalarna here in Sweden. Slange, skull, cheers, and see you guys on the next one.